Indeed, you are welcome to this show, Health Watch, and today we are going to be talking about you are what you eat. Did you know that indeed you are what you eat? That's what we are going to be discovering in this show as we continue this discussion. And with me, I have two guests who are joining me to discuss this particular topic. First is Pastor Leon Kaffs, who is a medical missionary trainer with Lay Institute of Global Health Training. That is the Light Ministry.
Yes.
You are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And next to him is Dr. Tom Boyer, who is a medical doctor in Nairobi County and the public and private sector. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And I'm glad that you have joined me to discuss this show. And the first thing that we always want to ask when we are talking about food and nutrition is, why should I be concerned about what goes into my body? And maybe I should come straight to you, Dr. Tom.
Yeah, it's a very good question. But I would think that the nutritionist would be a better place to answer it. Mm-hmm. But just to give what the layman would understand is to say that our bodies work like computers, you know. Mm-hmm. Whatever you bring in is what comes out of your body. In computer, we have a language called garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't bring in food that is coming into your body to build you, to develop you, to make you healthy, and instead you bring in food that destroys your body cells, then you're going to be destroyed and your health is not going to be good.
Now, Dr. Leon, Pastor Leon,
Yes.
I don't know why I'm referring to you as a doctor.
I
but,
don't know either.
Okay, you train these people, the medical missionaries.
Yes.
And the same question. Why should
Yes.
I be concerned about what goes into my body?
Yeah, it's a very basic question, but of utter importance.
Sure.
Nutrition, meaning what we eat, is used by our body for mainly four things: for growth, for reproduction, for activity, and for maintenance. And so the nutrients that we need to get from our food and our drink, if you like, needs to support those four.
For functions.
If we don't, we become sick. So nutrients is very important.
Can't I just take anything that I want? You know, now we are going deep into this discussion. The next thing that I want to know is really, why should I choose a particular food and leave out the other? Why should I be concerned about mixing some varieties of food and not mix some others? Does it really have a great impact in my body?
As concerning the question, I would like to tie it actually with the first question you asked about why is it important what we eat. And you know, when you look at it, it's easy to look at our bodies and think that is the basic part of the body. The basic part of the body starts from the cell. Those really small, tiny things we can't see with the naked eye, we see them with a microscope. So for the survival of that particular cell, that is where your concern should be. So even as you eat, as you drink water, whatever you put into your mouth, you have to figure it out that this thing, at the end of the day, is going to serve a cell in my body, which in their millions and eventually billions make up this body that people can be able to relate with and see. So when you look at that aspect of it, then it makes you understand why it's important to choose your nutrition, to choose wisely what you eat, from the water to the nutrients, all of that.
And so what you're saying is, basically, going by the topic of the day is that we indeed are what we eat.
Yes.
It really contributes to our personality and everything.
Absolutely.
Let me bring in this question about, we keep on referring to balanced diet. And some people are wondering, what is a balanced diet? Pastor Leon, what is a balanced diet?
A balanced diet is a diet that gives our body all the nutrients it needs to do the proper task for one day. And so that means, for instance, my friend the Daktari, who does a lot of sitting, I assume he does a lot of sitting.
And it alternates with a lot of standing.
A lot of
when I'm in theater
So
operating.
not really that active compared with a runner, a marathon runner. The marathon runner needs to eat enough to do that job. he needs to eat enough to do his job, and I for mine, you for yours. Now, that means that a balanced diet needs to give us all the carbohydrates, all the fats, all the protein, all the vitamins, all the minerals, and all the phytochemicals the body needs.
So you are talking about 6 components here.
6 to 7.
6
That
to
is
7.
mainly what we need. Mainly what we need. You know, you can go to fat and this fat and that fat and this food and that food. It is mainly water, carbohydrates, protein, fat, minerals, vitamins, and phytochemicals. Now, may I add, to say this, is this, that depending on what you do, depends how much calories you need to get out of your nutrition. Some food is very nutritious, but we destroy it by cooking it in the wrong way, or by eating it the wrong way.
Okay.
And my last point on that question is, the balanced diet is over the day. It's not one meal. You cannot really get everything in one meal. That will be overdoing it. You have breakfast to get your nutrients, your lunch, get your nutrients, and if necessary, a small dinner to get your nutrients.
I can't get all the nutrients in the same one meal. And Doc,
I actually
look at this. Based on what he's saying, can I plan myself that I want carbohydrates in the morning, I want proteins in the afternoon, I want vitamins in the evening, and maybe the others I mix just a little bit, or should I have all these things mixed together in every meal?
I think based on what we tell patients when they come to us, of course, most of the people we see in the hospital and who need nutritional counseling, most of them are either severely ill, and so they're either wasted in a way, and so we need to bring them back up to full speed so that their bodies can be operating well. But that said, normally when we advise patients, we tell them to have more, when you're spacing out your meals, in the morning you have a heavier carbohydrate energy diet in the morning. And then as you go towards the evening, then you thin out the amount of carbohydrates you eat. And eventually, even at night now, the last meal you have for dinner is probably just heavier on proteins as opposed to carbohydrates. But that said, you can actually have a meal, like all the 3 meals, with all the nutrients in them. But of course, your target should not be like, if I can't get proteins in the morning, then I'm messed up for the whole day. If you can't get proteins over lunch hour, you can still have them over dinner. So I want to agree with him and say that you don't necessarily have to concentrate on having all your nutrients in one meal. Yeah, but
at least
in terms of medical advice, but in terms of medical advice, we'd normally say that you start off your day with a lot of energy, because you need that, and you need the carbohydrates to give you that energy so that you are sustained throughout the day. And of course, there are particular foods that are rich in carbohydrates. And even when you eat carbohydrates, you should not eat the ones that are cleared by the body in short term. Like when you're starting off your morning, concentrate on high fiber diet that will eventually be broken down, and slowly by slowly it gives you enough energy to run throughout the whole day.
Are you bringing in the argument that we need to eat like a king in the morning, to eat like a governor in the afternoon, and maybe a poor man in the evening? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that argument was originating from the idea of the portions that you eat. So when you say you eat like a king in the morning, apart from the idea of having as much of the possible nutrients in your meal in the morning as possible, the quantity is slightly more compared to what you eat over lunch hour and eventually what you have for dinner. So that's why they say like a king in the morning and like a pauper in the evening for dinner.
Before I go to him, I know he needs to bring in some light into this. You are a medical doctor and you serve a lot of people, both in the public and private sector. How many people have you, percentage-wise, have you witnessed that are suffering from nutrition problems and lifestyle? Is the scale high or low, or is it something average?
According to the official figures, like in sub-Saharan Africa, so Kenya is represented, about 45% of our children specifically have malnutrition disorders. So you can imagine how high that is. That means from parents to the little children, there should be a lot of education, because that is almost half the population. And the sad part about malnutrition is that out of the babies with malnutrition, their IQ, when they eventually grow up, is going to be about 20% less than for the babies who have had nutritious diet while growing up.
Oh.
So a baby who's had malnutrition may eventually have that affect their mental capacity as they're growing up.
Still on the diet plan, my feeding plan, why must I really be concerned about how I plan my diet in a day? How is it important in my life and to a local Kenyan out there? Why must we plan our diet very well?
Well, our body belongs to God, was made by Him. It is operated by laws. Everything is operated by law. Our cars cannot get a different fuel and be expected to function well. It doesn't work.
Sure.
It's impossible. Same with this body. God has given us the rules, and the Bible is clear. We have so many wonderful counsel on health in the Bible.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of prophecy. Now, we are told that our body needs time to digest the food we eat. Therefore, we need to eat at a certain time and not have another meal too early. 5 to 6 hours at least between every meal. Look at this from the point of how the body works, physiology, how the body works. If I eat this wonderful banana with a slice of bread, which would be a good meal, at least part of a good meal, it comes into my stomach and it becomes digested, meaning the body breaks it down to the smallest particle possible so that the cells, as our colleague is talking about, can get the nutrients out of it.
What
That
we
is-
call assimilation?
It is called digestion, metabolism. Metabolism means the changing, and digesting means to making it small.
Okay.
Now, if I eat my food at 8 in the morning and I eat again at 10, the food that I ate at 8 will stop digesting because the new food will get all the
come in.
attention. So I don't get the nutrients. And that is our problem in Kenya. Dr. Tom was talking about it. My experience as a medical missionary, where I move in the bush and in the cities, we see the people who sleep on cow dung floors and who live in 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
We see that kind of a range. In my opinion, 8, if not 9 out of 10 people are sick because of their lifestyle. I give you a good example. The Kenyan. There's no breakfast for a Kenyan.
Yeah,
For most Kenyans, I should say.
we don't have that time.
It may be a cup of tea,
Yeah,
and if it is a strong
and a slice
breakfast,
of bread.
2 cups of tea.
Yeah,
That's a strong breakfast.
yeah,
Then at 10 o'clock, we get hungry, we start snacking.
sure.
Karanga, or soda, or whatever we find on the
Some
street, mandazis or cakes. Then it comes to lunchtime. We eat. 3, 4 o'clock, tea again. 5, 6, we're at home, it's chai. Between 7 and 9, the main lunch, the main dinner.
The main food.
So we eat our food too close together. So that gives us a very poor digestion. And that means our bodies are not being fed on cellular level. And if our cells are not healthy, the whole body is not healthy, because the whole body is just one big lump of cells altogether, millions of them.
Well, now, because we want to go on a short break, now, how do I plan my diet? You have said 5 hours between meals
Yes.
is appropriate.
Yes.
I guess do you agree with that, 5 hours between meals?
Okay, speaking from the medical side of it, and being that most of the patients we see come already with disorders, and either they are having anorexia nervosa, where that means a patient who intentionally starves themselves, either because of a mental illness or because of the fashion trends,
We want to
or
maintain
peer
a good
influence.
figure.
Yeah, so all that. And we also have the other end of it, where someone has bulimia nervosa, and someone is just binge eating. You eat a lot once in one setup. So one of the things that we don't encourage is concentrating on heavy eating. Like you just eat too much once, and then you have a very long break, and then you eat a lot again. It's encouraged medically that you have a meal, like you can plan out your meals, and then in between you can have a snack. Now that's where the difference comes in, because for some people a snack would mean having a whole, half a chicken. Someone that would call that a snack.
A snack.
Yeah, and ideally you're supposed to have healthy snacks like in between your meals. You can drop in your fruits during your healthy snacking.
In the duration of 5 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
So in that plan, because nutrition is very practical.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Kenyan context, and Pastor has put it so well, that in the Kenyan context, we are rushing to work. In the morning, either you're late, you're running somewhere. So you leave the house, you've not had anything. Or you've just had a glass of water or juice or tea. And then you leave the house, head to work at 10. That's when you want to have a whole plate of uji or something. You want to eat a lot at that time. And then you have lunch coming 2 hours later. So before even this food is fully processed in your body and digested, you're already eating. And then after that, at 4, you're eating. So we need to plan out our meals. If it is 5 hours or 4 hour breaks in between your meals, and then in there, you can have healthy snacks.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Pastor, just as we go on a break, maybe you just highlight, what time should I take my breakfast, lunch, and supper, just in highlighting way?
Of course, it depends on your lifestyle, the day
If
that
I wake
you
up
have.
at 6,
If you wake up at 6, you have your breakfast at 7, you wait 5 hours.
have my lunch,
Have your lunch, you wait another 5 hours.
have my supper.
Have your supper.
Thank you.
If you need a supper.
Thank you very much. And our dear viewer, we are going on a short break, and I leave you with this feature about nutrients. I hope that you enjoy. After the break, we continue with our discussion. Welcome back to your show, Health Watch, and I'm joined with 2 guests today. That is Pastor Leon Kaff and Dr. Tom Boyer. Welcome once again as we continue this discussion. So we've talked about a number of issues here, and I want to rush over to another question. In Kenya, we are a country famously known for this thing called nyama choma. I don't know whether you've ever taken nyama choma. You haven't, but you've seen people take
of course.
it. And doctor here might have tested nyama choma. And now, I'm just wondering, is there any danger in things like nyama choma? And what would be the substitutes? Maybe I should start with you, Pastor.
Nyama choma has many problems. Number one is meat. Meat is not really the best nutrients for our body. It makes us not to become very healthy. It's a poor choice of nutrients.
But they say that meat has the most, percentage of proteins.
Well, that is not scientifically proven. What it means is it has a complete protein,
Complete protein.
not a superior protein. Let me answer that question. There were 20 amino
Educate me
acids.
there.
20 amino acids that we need, that there are. 10 of them this body does not make. Those we call essential, because they are essential for our body to get out of the food. So people say, if you eat meat, it has all the 8 or 9 or 10 essential amino acids that the body doesn't make inside. That's why they call it a quality protein. But it is not superior. Because if I eat vegetables and grains and fruits and nuts, I will get all the 8, 9, or 10 essential amino acids as well in my body, but from 3 different or 2 different meals. It is stored in my liver. It is used by my body at night for maintenance. So when my body needs it, I have all the protein this body needs. Therefore, meat is not necessary. Now, about charcoal, broiling, nyama choma has a problem.
Yeah, the burning.
Now,
Yes.
number one,
Roasted meat.
the
Yeah.
roasted meat. The charcoal sometimes is not fully hot, it's still smoking.
Okay.
That is carbon dioxide. That meat absorbs that carbon dioxide. That's number one. Number two, when the coals are now fully hot, there is no temperature control there at all. It is hot sauna or cold sauna or something in between. It just rises. And the meat is just above it. That makes the fat in the meat to become liquid. And it starts to drop on the coals. You have seen it, and then it
Yeah.
starts to smoke and it smells great.
Yeah.
That is
Very
the-
wonderful.
that mafuta, that fat falling on the coals, immediately turns carcinogenic because of the heat. That fat falling on the heat immediately makes that fat carcinogenic.
Carcinogenic.
Now, it doesn't touch the meat. That's good. But the smoke that it makes, again, is absorbed
By the meat.
the meat. So we are eating a piece of meat that is so full of toxins that it has 600 times the amount of carcinogenics than one cigarette. 600 times the amount of carcinogenics are in one piece of nyama choma. And if you go to Narok, where I sometimes go when I travel up and down,
Yeah.
what they do, they take the meat, scrape off what was burned, and put it back on. Now, what are we eating? Surely not a quality nutritional substance.
Doc, help me here. Nyama choma. And you know, this is a festive season. And right from where I was raised up, I was taught that festive season is a time for meat, chapati, and all these things that we desire, especially when we are children. What is the danger here? He has talked about some things here, some very essential things here. I don't know what else is dangerous, and do we have really a substitute for this? We want to enjoy.
Thank you so much for that question. And anytime we are talking about nutrition, meat always comes up. And I have to say at this
It's
point,
something that we can't really avoid.
yes, you can't avoid the discussion around meat. And let me say it's one of the most demonized names of food as far as, being blasted is concerned. That said, there are two ways to answer you. First of all is to say that meat is not the only source of protein. And that said, the answer has been given before, that there are other sources of protein that we could use. From what people know, njahe, beans, and all that, they have very rich sources of protein. At the same
Basically
time,
legumes?
yes, legumes. At the same time, when you look at meat as a source of protein, and not attach any other investigations that have gone into it, eaten in moderation for those who are not vegetarians. Of course, we always want to advocate that everyone out there, as much as possible, anyone who can be a vegetarian should try and experience that life of being a vegetarian, because you eat everything else from nature, from the way it is, and that's how God had designed our bodies. Our cells respond best when food is eaten in its natural form. But then when you look at meat now as a component or as part of the plan that we see, because I see patients, vegetarians and non-vegetarians, and those who eat meat, what we tell them is to eat it in moderation, one, and two, to choose the parts of meat to eat, because there's lean meat and then there's meat that has a lot of fat in it. That's really dangerous also for their body systems, for the heart and all that. When you look at the way the fat is deposited in your blood vessels, making your blood vessels to no longer be able to contract enough for the blood flow. Yeah, so that may eventually end up causing heart diseases. And so when you look at all that, and that's one of the reasons as to why meat is high on the list of those foods that you're told either to eat in moderation or not eat it at all. And there was recently another research that was done, I think some months ago, It was all over, and they were saying that meat is actually one of the causes of cancer.
Yeah, three
That
things.
said-
They
that
mentioned
said-
animals and animal products.
Yes. That said, Kenya is a nyama choma. I mean, nyama choma is one of those things that we are proud. We are proud of as Kenyans. And when you go somewhere, when we invite foreigners over, we always tell them you need to eat nyama choma.
By the way, even what foreigners say, if you go to Kenya and you don't eat nyama choma, you've not been to Kenya.
I mean, it tastes so good.
Yeah.
But then, you know, as Pastor Leo has already said, it also has its disadvantages.
Now-
What I would tell a viewer out there is, if you have to, you've got to eat it in moderation, and it has to be well prepared.
Now, this moderation that
Best
you're
if it
talking
is
about,
grilled. No, let me just finish that aspect, because it's very important.
Okay.
Because when you're eating meat, you should avoid having it deep fried, cooked with fat. So if it is boiled, that's good. And any other food, not just meat, when it is steamed and things like that, then they're
They're
in a better format.
Talking about moderation, you talked about moderation and lean meat. Now, help me understand, what is moderation? I had somebody telling me 3 pieces of meat. So I was asking myself, what if I cut them in big pieces? I take only 3, or small pieces. What's the difference? And the lean one, which parts should I take, which parts should I avoid?
When we talk about quantity, because moderation is about quantity, we say that 70% of the food that we eat, we really don't need. You know, that's why the more you eat, the larger the quantity of your output, you know. So your body eventually, you know, removes all that. 70% of the food you eat, you don't need. So when you compare that, then now you can go back to your plate and ask yourself, how much of this food don't I need? And I know that he'll give us an illustration, but as from the nutritional aspect. But in the hospital, when we are dealing with patients, we normally tell them, if your plate, the diameter is the size of your hand, then you know, half of that plate should be things like vegetables. You know, 2/4, which make half, should be vegetables and all that. The other quarter,
Those are vitamins?
yes, the other quarter is divided now into your carbohydrates and your proteins. So as far as your carbohydrates are concerned, and anytime I tell this, particularly to men, they think it's a joke, but ideally you're not supposed to eat ugali bigger than the size of your fist in any meal. How much do you eat? Let's. You don't need to
I
answer
guess
me.
around 3.
3 sizes of your fist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ideally, that you're not supposed to eat like ugali bigger than your fist. That's just roughly the amount of carbohydrates you need. And then the other quarter is now your proteins. Of course, if it is meat now, that's moderation. So moderation is about not eating like more than 200 grams of meat. That's just too much for you. Yeah.
So less than 200 grams. Okay. Now, guess we've talked extensively. It's a subject that is worth more discussion, but for the purpose of this particular episode, we'll just end it there. And let's now talk about lifestyle. How I eat. How does it affect my lifestyle? Pastor.
Okay, let me give a good illustration. People can eat fruits at the same time they eat vegetables. They believe I get my nutrients from the vegetables, I get nutrients from the fruit, it is good, the doctors tell me, so I put it on the plate at the same time. That's not good thinking. Fruits and vegetables should not be eaten together, we are counseled, because they create acid.
They react?
They create acid in the stomach. This acid in the stomach will eventually cause ulcers, gastritis. If I don't control that type of eating, I will get other diseases. Are you seeing this? Now, let's leave the nutrition now alone. There is so much that lifestyle is built up on. I need to have a good nutritional value every day. Number 2, I need to exercise. I need water. I need sunshine. I need temperance, moderation. I need fresh air. Then I need to have trust in God.
You're talking about the 8 doctors?
The 8 doctors. And in my experience as a medical missionary, when I just go into people's homes, whoever it is, if those 8 are not there, then you don't have a good lifestyle. And they will be somewhere hiding a sickness that they do not know of that will come out later. Or they are sick and they do not know its cause. I give you a good example how trust in God is so important. For me as a medical missionary, we use the Bible. We talk to people who have mental issues, who have divorce cases. Some people have pressure, hypertension. Has nothing to do with the way they eat, not even the way they live. It has to do, they do not have enough trust
In God.
in the promises that God will solve the issue.
They take too much care on their issues.
So they get pressure. And if that pressure is not going to be controlled, and by the way, medication only controls the pressure but doesn't take it away, we know that, this pressure will eventually cause more cardiovascular disease, even heart attack will become fatal.
Now, thank you very much for that, and I guess it's something that we need to study more on, especially the 8 natural doctors that you keep on referring to. But there is also, some people want to, like you alluded to earlier, some people want to starve themselves so that they can maintain a certain figure, especially for our good ladies out there. Is that in order, or is there anything else that they can do to still maintain their figure and not starve themselves?
I think, first of all, this idea of starving themselves to get into shape has a lot to do with peer pressure and latest fashion designs. So it's influence either from what we watch, the common trends we see going on. But apart from that, there are people who are sick, and so theirs is like a mental illness, and that is why they starve themselves. And some people go as far as, after eating, they induce vomiting. So when you look at all that, the idea about starving yourself to fit into the fashion also has to do with your mental strength. At that point, are you comfortable in your own skin? Because it's about other people setting the agenda for you, telling you your body, you're big, when in reality those people are already thin, they're already losing a lot of weight, intentionally, some are losing it unintentionally. But then at the end of the day, it's about the standard being set for them and them not having a strong mental capacity to think that it's okay, they're supposed to be the way they are. And now just eat healthy and ensure that their bodies are okay.
Well, thank you. We are taking again another short break, and on this we are leaving you with something we call the health snippet, and he's talking about the ideal shopping basket. We are coming back shortly to continue with this discussion as we give a summary into today's topic. Don't go away. Welcome back to this final bit of Health Watch as we summarize on this particular discussion. I hope you are gaining a lot in this festive season. Welcome back, my guests, to the show.
Thank you.
Now, let's touch on 3 basic things here as we summarize. I know we don't have all the time to discuss the details, but I think we'll be able to capture some things here. Now, the first question that I would like to ask is, we have whole meals and refined meals. And lately, we've had a lot of campaigns for whole meals. People discouraging refined meals and other things. Why is this important? Why must I take whole meals? Why is it better for me to take whole meals, Dr.?
If a person takes refined food, he takes food that has no fiber. Mainly the fiber is removed.
And what is this fiber?
Fiber is that part of the plant that the body cannot absorb and use as nutrients, but it is essential for our body. Let me give you an example. If we take ugali made from a whole grain maize, grinded in the posho mill, we eat the ugali. the fiber inside will become soft because of the moisture and will make our stool to come out very nice and very bulky. That is one reason for fiber. It binds toxins as well. Now, if we do not have fiber, what happens? The fiber will attract moisture, and so the food that we have eaten becomes like a thick porridge, if you like, and moves to the digestive system slowly, meaning that the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients in the food can now be absorbed by the intestines and gives us the strength we need. If we don't take fiber, the sugar in the food, carbohydrates are mainly there for sugar. That means the fiber holds the sugar from going up too fast. It releases the sugar slowly. So the insulin that the body needs to take this glucose, this sugar to the cells, is also not that much. But if we don't have fiber, the sugar in our blood will go up very fast, very high. The body comes into a crisis and releases insulin more than is needed, because it's a crisis, to bring that high blood sugar down, meaning it goes down too low, because there's too much insulin. The person becomes tired, thinks he needs more, so what does he do? Again, he eats the same thing, so we go up and down. Eventually, we become sick with a disease called diabetes. So we need this whole meal fiber.
Okay.
Not refined foods will give us
Whole
a big
meal.
problem.
Whole
Whole grains like maize, like wheat, like wimpy, that was not refined foods. That is take, as Dr. Ali said, in its original state, take the wheat berries to the posher mill and grind it. And a side comment, when you go to the supermarkets, most of the time what you buy there is not whole meal either.
It's refined.
It is a mixture. It is better than refined, but it is not whole meal fully. So I want the customer to go to the supermarkets and be very keen how he selects. Because some is just fortified, we have some added minerals, but and some added bran, but it is only 5% of what they took away.
Let me bring in Dr. here on the same point. Is it only about the fiber that he's talking about, that I should be concerned about whole meal because of the fiber only, or does it, do we have more than that?
No, I think in terms of whole meal food, you know, it's for instance what in Swahili we say kisiagi when we are talking about flour, cooking flour.
The posher meal.
Yeah, the posher meal
Kisiagi.
one. Yeah, that's why people from Ushago do not have issues with constipation and things like that a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's based on what he has technically explained so well. You know, when you eat food that is high in fiber, it helps with your digestion. But apart from that, when you're eating food that is whole, you're taking it almost like in its raw form. All the vitamins and everything would be under one packet. So you get a whole combination for your food. So that's important.
Okay. Okay. And then we have, you know, this season we're going to be using a lot of fats to cook. We have of course, the fat one, the solid one, and we have the liquid one, like salads. Yeah. So is it good to really use them, and to what extent, what amount should one use in preparing their foods? You know, we like putting in more, especially in this country. We like putting
we pour.
in, we just pour, we don't even measure.
Yes. Well,
we call it the top layer.
Top
should
layer.
be visible
Yes.
when you cook, and then the top layer
Should
is
be
fat.
This man might have studied in a boarding school.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
They do it mostly.
This is a real concern. Originally, our oil should come out of our food. Meaning, somebody should not take it out of the food, put it in a bottle and give it to us. We should just eat the food and get the oil. And you know, carrots have oil, onions have oil, nuts have a lot of oil, avocado has a lot of oil. So we don't really need to buy the bottled oil. Now here comes it. we have saturated fat, meaning that is the fat that stays hard at room temperature. Like your meat, fat that has, the fat on the meat, the white that's hard, that is saturated. It's not good for our bodies because of the saturation. It's actually if you say bad, good, better, I would put this in the bad category. Then we have the liquid oils. Now here we have a problem. Liquid oil, meaning the unsaturated fat, can either be monosaturated or polysaturated. They can become rancid very quickly. God did not intend to get the oil out. He wanted to keep the oil in the nuts and in the avocado, but we took it out, so it becomes rancid. So what do? We make it to go through a process of bleaching, of deodorizing, of heating, and we remove what is called fatty acids. Those fatty acids make the oil to become rancid. Remove them, the oil does not become rancid. So you have a longer shelf life, more money, but for our bodies, big problem. Here comes the problem, main problem. We need some fatty acids that our body does not make, as we talked about the protein. We need omega-6, we need omega-3. Omega-6 and omega-3 are fatty acids, and they are removed out of the refining process. So what do? We get an imbalance in the oil. This leads to diseases like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, arthritis, asthma, cancer, because of these oils. So the oil we should use is the one in the food. If you want to buy an oil that is called a virgin, cold pressed.
Virgin oil, cold pressed, huh?
The fatty acids are inside.
Like what I hear, olive oil?
Olive oil, coconut oil, sunflower oil, canola oil. But
they are
mainly,
too expensive.
They are.
For a common wananchi down there.
Well,
It's true that not everyone can afford them.
Not everyone can afford.
liter-
So do we have an alternative?
A liter goes for around 900 shillings, olive oil. Therefore, your best is just get it out of your food.
So how do I prepare my veggies without, because I can't afford this oil, is too expensive.
Yes.
How do I prepare my veggies, my chapati? I need oil.
No, you don't need oil. You can make chapatis without oil, you can make bogas without oil. If you need to use either those three, and how much you use, here it comes. 3 tablespoons maximum per day of a virgin oil. And if you use a refined oil, the same. 3 tablespoons maximum on the day.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much for that particular information. Now, Doctor, because of time, I want us to summarize on the BMI very shortly here. The body metabolic what?
The basal
metabolic
mass index.
Okay.
Basal mass index.
Now, talk about that in a nutshell.
There's no way I can talk about this BMI without mentioning the lifestyle diseases, which include things like diabetes, which has been mentioned, and diseases like hypertension. So the BMI is a measure of the weight, someone's weight in kilograms. So let's say if you're 70 kilograms over your height in meters squared. So it's a calculation. So when you take your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared, whatever we get, that number, whether it is 20, whether it is 30, that's your BMI. So in that calculation, normally your range should be 20 to 25, that's for normal. 25 to 30, you're now on borderline overweight. You know you're overweight. And then once you hit 30 and above, you are grouped as obese. And this is a factor of your body in terms of kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. So when you look at
when
that,
it comes too low,
when it's too low now, you're.
when is it dangerous? Too low, the lower side.
No, once you hit 20 and below, then you should at least work on it. However, when you look at this BMI, link it up with diseases like hypertension and diabetes, we find that the higher your BMI is, once you are hitting 30 and above, or once you're in the range of 28 and above, you're most likely to develop these lifestyle diseases. And it comes out as a factor of your food and your eating habits as well. But that said, these diseases are not just based on your food. It's not just about your nutrition. Some people are born with them. So, there are so many reasons as to why someone would have diabetes or hypertension. So, for instance, for diabetes, there are babies who are born diabetic. So, it's not a fault of theirs. And then over time, there are people who, the way you eat, the way you abuse food, your body cannot produce enough of the insulin, or at some point, you're just putting so much pressure on your body that your pancreas can't cope. So, your body misbehaves in a way, and
for this baby who is
skyrocket.
born in that condition,
yes,
what should they do? Is there any hope for them?
That is normally a more severe type of diabetes, and so it has to be monitored well. So from the time they are born, then the doctors have to monitor them well. Eventually, this is a group of people who end up having to inject themselves with insulin. It's a very rare category in terms of the group. Okay. But then eventually, when you look at people's lifestyles and age-wise, most of those who have diabetes setting in, they are type 2 diabetes, which now comes later on with age.
Thank you very much.
But the thing I wanted to underline is that much as we are talking about nutrition today, then nutrition is not the only factor when you're looking at some of these lifestyle diseases.
And maybe, doctor, just as you wind up in 20 seconds, or in 10 seconds rather, your message to the people out there
my message
as we celebrate these festivities.
Oh yes, when you're going to a celebratory mood, we normally tell people, we need you to be alive tomorrow. We need you to be alive next year. So don't binge too much in anything, whether it's food, whatever it is. Don't overindulge. Be safe on the roads and all that. When it comes to food, which is going to be the focus for the next month or so, then eat moderately with temperance, enjoy, get the various nutrients in the food you eat. But another thing, don't forget to exercise, because it's also key for your health.
Wow, thank you. Pastor, just a
I
statement.
would like to tell the viewer this. We are warned by the Bible. Whatever we eat, whatever we drink, whatever we do it for the glory of God.
Sure.
As I said at the beginning, this body belongs to God, and one day Jesus Christ is going to come on the clouds of heaven, and he's going to say, where are you? Where is you? Where are you with the body I gave you? And so please, the nutrition he has given us, we can get everything out of what this planet grows by itself. We don't need to go and kill something.
Yeah.
Let us celebrate life as God has given it to us in his ways. And if we get sick, let's look for a good solution.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And our viewer, finally we've come to the end of our discussion today. I guess you've heard whatever the pastor, who is a trainer with the medical mission, he's a medical missionary trainer with Lay Institute for Global Health Training, and our doctor here, Tom Boyer, educating us more about our health. Remember, you are what you eat, and at the end of the day, there is a judgment coming. So take care of your bodies. God bless you until next time. My name is Nixon Ratemo. Thank you for watching Health Watch.
Amen.
Thank you.